So, you're in high school computer science class, and your teacher says, "Okay, everyone, what is memory?" You, being an eager computer science student, proudly raise your hand and tell your teacher, "Memory is what keeps track of what the computer is working on." And your teacher says, "Great job, that's exactly right. Memory is what keeps track of what the computer is working on." And the whole class claps and cheers for you, and you go up to the front of the class, and your teacher gives you a gold star for being such a great computer science student. And that night, you go home, and your parents are there, and they say, "We heard you got an answer right in computer science class today, so we decided to celebrate your birthday 6 months early." And they give you the newest version of the iPhone. So you stand proudly with your iPhone in one hand and your gold star in the other, and tell yourself that this is the best day of your life. So you graduate high school with amazing grades, and the day finally comes when you go to university to study computer science. And you're really excited because you're going to become a computer scientist. You show up to your computer architecture class, and the professor asks, "What is memory?" And you tell your professor, "Memory keeps track of what the computer is working on." And then your professor gives you an angry look, and she says, "You complete idiot. This isn't some class for dumb babies. You're studying hardware, and in hardware, data is stored within memory cells built from MOS transistors and other components on an integrated circuit." And the whole class of 300 students laugh at you for getting the question wrong and for being a dumb idiot. And you ask yourself if you're really meant to be a computer science student after all. Maybe you are too much of a dumb idiot to study computer science. You go home that night and desperately search the internet to try and figure out what MOS transistors are, but you just get lost in a maze of Wikipedia articles and feel more confused than when you started. You remember that day when your high school teacher told you that you were right for saying that memory keeps track of what the computer is working on, and you wonder why your high school teacher lied to you and why they didn't tell you about MOS transistors. The next day, you show up to your computer internals class, and your professor tells you that memory is just binary digits of information that are arranged in sophisticated ways to represent data. And you tell him that you thought memory was about MOS transistors, and he was like, "Well, technically, MOS transistors are used for controlling digital circuits that operate on binary digits." After that, you go to your machine learning class, and your professor tells you that memory refers to the ability of a learning system to retain and utilize knowledge gained from past experiences to adapt the system's behavior, make predictions, and improve performance over time. Later, you go to your psychology class, and your professor tells you that memory is formed through the changing of connections between neurons in your brain. And then you go to your quantum computing class, and your professor tells you that memory is always probabilistic, and for some bits, we can't even know if they're 1 or 0. And to find the expected value of the bit, we need to find the trace of the product of the density matrix and the observable, where the trace of a matrix is the sum of the elements in its main diagonal. And also, the density matrix might be defined as the outer product of the state vector with itself, if the state is pure, or the sum of all of the pairwise products between the probabilities and the state vectors, but he can't be sure since everything is just probabilities. At this point, you've completely stopped trying to understand what memory is, and you've stopped going to classes and you've stopped doing your homework, because life is pointless and you'll never be able to understand computer science no matter how hard you try. You realize that students all over the world are in high school right now, and they're being lied to, and they're being told that memory is just what keeps track of what the computer is working on. And they too will go to university and learn the truth and suffer just like you did. And you clench your fists in anger. You realize that the eternal cycle of folly needs to be stopped, and you need to destroy memory once and for all. So you go to Russia and dig a tunnel to their nuclear weapons stockpile, and you're about to push the secret button on the nukes that will destroy the universe, but then the Guardians of the Galaxy show up to stop you. And Star-Lord tells you that he understands how you feel, and that we've all been there before. We've all been confused in computer science class and think that we're dumb. But the way to deal with pain isn't to destroy the universe. Instead, we should help others and use our life experiences to make the world a less painful place for future generations. And also Drax says he wants a taco. Anyway, they run over to try and stop you, but you push the button before they get to you, and the world explodes. You wake up in a cold sweat in your bed and realize that everything was just a dream. It was a nightmare. About school and what? Graduation? No, that can't be right. It was probably about dating. Or was it about your friends all hating you? Maybe it was about your scary history teacher. You can't remember.
Engine start, no problem. 5 minutes. Tidin, problem engine.
Ублюдок, мать твою, ну иди сюда, говно собачье, а решил ко мне лезть, ты.
What the hell?